Greetings, Hatchlings. I thought to help us prepare our minds, our bodies, and our souls for the release of Sigra's Roost, Book 2 in the Titan's Nest Saga, that we should do a full recap, spoilers included, of Titan's Nest, Book 1. Perhaps you're simply here for a refresh before Book 2 releases later this year. Perhaps you're terrified. You're terrified you'll be at a social event where everyone's discussing this hot new series, Titan's Nest, and you haven't read it. And all of a sudden, questions start coming your way. Who are the Bitten Knights? Who are the Swarmborn? Which Fury would you choose? And you have no idea. You have no idea what to answer, and you're going to be embarrassed. You're going to be mortified. You'll have to move states. Well, let me prevent that from happening, and let's dive in right now to northern Eclipto, a small town called Huntsboro. We open in a muddy street. Darren Duskfell is chasing his older brother, Maximus Duskfell, through the town. It's drizzling. It's always drizzling in Huntsboro. Their mother calls after them, do not go outside the city gates and return before sunfall, because the kingdom's at war. But despite mother's warnings, 14-year-old Maximus heads out into the woods, and reluctantly, Darren, who's only 12 at the time, follows. The northern kingdom of Eclipto has discovered a Swarmborn hive somewhere near their capital, and the Swarmborn are half human, half insect warriors that used to rule Dazarath. So the forces of Eclipto are attempting to eradicate this Swarmborn hive. Maximus and Darren are hoping to catch a glimpse of the battle, but they need higher ground in order to see over the tree line. So Maximus, the adventurous one, convinces Darren that they need to climb the giant skull of the Verdor, which is one of 6 giant primal dragons. And when I say giant dragon skull, it's the size of the average castle in Dazarath. It's enormous. So with the help of his far more athletic brother, Darren finally reaches the top of the skull, and they can see over the tree line. They can see smoke from the distant battle. Then descending from the clouds, they see a giant bronze dragon. Who is riding this magnificent creature? Well, it's none other than Lord Cage Thunderforge, the Lord Commander of the Bitten Knights. Maximus announces that it's been 12 years since Lord Commander Thunderforge graced the skies of northern Eclipto. Maximus and Darren watch in horror as the Lord Commander calls down a bolt of lightning described as a mile wide. Maximus and Darren, even though miles away, are thrown to their backs, and in a single terrifying attack, that Swarmborn hive is completely obliterated by Lord Thunderforge. Everything falls black. Fast forward to 4 years later. We find Darren working in the Bat-Bellied Tavern. His family owns this tavern where he works with his brother, still Maximus, who's now 18, his mother, and his father, Gord. Maximus has just announced that he will no longer be working at the family tavern, that he's going to head into the capital, and he's going to enlist to be a soldier in the northern Eclipto army. The boy's father is furious at this idea, and Maximus says, no worries, just let Darren take over the tavern. This makes Gord even more furious because he doesn't like Darren very much, because Darren's kind of like a small wimpy guy, and he's like, Darren will never take over the Bat-Bellied Tavern. And when their mother tries to come to Darren's defense, she gets backhanded pretty hard because Gord is a dick. Darren picks up his mother off the floor, attempts to comfort her. She refers to him as Spado, which is primal tongue for stars, because his eyes are kind of gold like stars. A young hunter who's traveled all the way from southern Valtar, named Riker Dawnrose, has just arrived at the tavern, and he says he's looking for a room for him and his father. Darren offers to escort Riker to a local inn where he thinks he can help him find a room. But on their way to the inn, something unexpected happens. Soldiers from Eclipto ride into town, and they announce that for the first time in 100 years, the next dragon eggs have hatched, and they're looking for a partner. Because you see, every century, 6 dragon eggs fall from the heavens down to Dazarath below, and when they hatch, they will bite a young adult, forever merging their souls and gifting them with an elemental ability known as Fury. So the soldier announces that all young boys and girls from the ages of 14 to 18 that have been born and raised in Eclipto will be brought to the Lunar Temple to be presented to the Dragon Hatchling to see who the next Bitten Knight will be. So basically everyone in the north hurries to the capital to see this monumental event. Northern soldiers have created a perimeter surrounding all the young adults who are waiting to go down into the temple and meet the hatchling. They're about to let the first child in when someone notices something. Darren looks to his left and he sees a drawn blade, a blade that is being dragged across the throat of one of those northern soldiers. The soldier drops dead, and the knife wielder is smiling right at Darren, and he draws a mask to his face. It's a white mask with a red X. All hell breaks loose. Hundreds of people in the crowd start to put on these masks, and they're killing all the soldiers, and they're grabbing the children. One of these masked attackers is sprinting right at Darren. Maximus tackles him from the side, and Maximus screams at him to run, but soon another masked person grabs Darren, and he drags him out of the city along with a couple other kids. Now Darren's being carried deep into the woods, and he thinks for sure he's a goner. All of a sudden, Riker jumps out of the bushes carrying a huge stick, baseball swing, whoosh, smacks Darren's attacker across the head, knocks the guy out cold, helps up Darren. He says, let's go find Maximus. Darren and Riker eventually do find Maximus, and it's taking like 3 of these masked guys to try to pin him down because Maximus has got a lot of fight in him. So Riker immediately jumps in to help, and Darren just freezes, and he's just standing there. With the help of Riker, Maximus starts to kind of turn the tide of the fight, and now they're beating the crap out of the guys with the mask, but somebody comes up from behind with a huge rock and breaks Riker's leg. They start dragging him off through the bushes, and he's screaming for Darren to help. Darren is still frozen solid. He looks up, and there's a bunch more masked people coming towards him, and so he turns and he tackles Maximus off the cliffside that they're on, and they fall down to Morrow Lake, which is far below, but they survive. Fast forward a few days. Darren is consumed by guilt and shame for not helping Riker, and now Maximus has left with a group of trackers and hunters and soldiers to go try and track down the masked people that kidnapped a bunch of Ecliptan kids. Because of this crippling guilt, Darren is not helping much around the tavern, and this is making his father Gord really angry. So Gord kind of goes after Darren. Darren's mother comes to his defense. Gord hits Darren's mother. She goes down. Now Darren's like, okay, I'm not going to stand by anymore like I did with Riker. I'm gonna stand up for people. And he goes and punches Gord in the face, which is cool, but he doesn't do anything because Gord's 12 times his size. Gord punches him in the gut. Darren goes down. Gord gets on top of Darren, looks like he's going to wail on him even harder, but then there's an announcement. The hunting party is back. Maximus has returned. Darren, ignoring the pain in his stomach, gets up and he sprints out to the main gate, and he's praying that Riker will be with Maximus. Of course, Riker and none of the other children that were kidnapped are with the hunting party that's returned. Maximus and the rest of the search party are all exhausted, and all they brought back was some iron shackles that they found near the coast, and they realized that the masked attackers had ships planted in the harbor to ferry off the children. Captain Olak, the northern soldier that led this search party, tells Maximus's family, hey, this kid's got a lot of heart. When he enlists to become a soldier, I'll see that he becomes my personal ward. This, of course, makes their father furious, and he says he'll never be a soldier. He works at my tavern. And then Captain Olak says, the fire inside that boy will be wasted inside a tavern. And Gord tells Maximus, if you leave and enlist in the army, you are no longer my son, and you are no longer a part of the Duskfell family. The next day, Captain Olak returns to Huntsboro, and he tells the Duskfell brothers, you guys still need to meet the dragon hatchling, and I will personally escort you there. On the way to the capital, Captain Olak reveals that these attacks were coordinated and that they've heard that all 6 kingdoms were hit and all 6 kingdoms had children kidnapped, and no one knows where they took the kids. Now they've returned to the heart of the city, and Darren is sent first into the lunar temple to meet the dragon hatchling. Darren descends the steps into darkness. There, inside this beautiful and ancient cavern, sits a single, tiny, black dragon. Darren carefully approaches the creature. The spiny little dragon approaches Darren, sniffs his hand, he opens his jaws, he bares his fangs, and Darren's like, oh my gosh, it's me. I'm going to be bitten. But then the dragon recoils and hisses and snarls at him and frightens Darren, and Darren jumps back because he's soft. The high priestess explains she's never seen a dragon hatchling have such a response to someone before. She thought it was strange. So Darren heads back up the stairs and they send Maximus down, but Darren stops halfway, he comes back down, and he spies on his brother, and he sees the dragon bite Maximus Duskfell. 3 months have passed, and the Batbelly Tavern is booming with business because everyone in the north wants to come and have a mug of ale at the very tavern where the newest Bitten knight used to work. The last few months, Maximus and his dragon have been training at the Obsidian Spire because soon they're going to ship off the Titan's Nest, where they will complete their training to become a fully fledged Bitten knight. For the first time since being bitten, Maximus and his dragon come to visit the Batbelly Tavern. 'Tis important to note that once bitten, you immediately become one of the most rich, famous, and powerful people in the entire world. Maximus introduces his tiny dragon to his family, Tenebros, the northern dreadspine. Gord is overjoyed to see his son come in such splendor, and he says, wow, I'll never have to work again. I'm so rich because of my son. And Maximus quotes his father, and he says, if you walk out that door, you are no longer a Duskfell. That's what you said to me. So I'm no longer your son. Therefore, you will not see a single shell. P.S. in Dazarath, they refer to all the coins as shells because the Ocean Kingdom produces all the coins and they look like little oysters, clams, and cockles. Maximus announces that he's bought a brand new luxury villa in the heart of Eclipto for his mother and for Darren, and they have maids and servants and chefs, and they'll be taken care of forever. Maximus also announces that tomorrow's the day that he leaves for Titan's Nest to complete his training, and he asks that Darren, his younger brother, escort him along on the journey because he'd like for him to have adventure, see another part of Dazarath, and get out of the north. Darren, of course, is terrified and has no interest in leaving, but his mother and Maximus convince him to go along. And on the next morning, Maximus and Darren Duskfell set out on the road with their tiny little dragon and a battalion of northern soldiers to head to Titan's Nest. It would mean the world to me if you would consider following our Kickstarter for Book 1 and Book 2, exclusive signed copies. The purpose of this Kickstarter is not only to cover the expensive publishing costs, but to help us raise funds to be able to wrap our stop motion short film that we've been making about Titan's Nest for almost 3 years now. We're just a two-man team. My buddy Zach Zombeck, the animator and director on this film, and myself, and the funds of this Kickstarter are going to go to hiring another visual artist to help us with all the VFX and roto brushing and all the boring stuff you guys don't care about, but it would be amazing to be able to hire someone to help us wrap this project that we're so excited about. So please consider following the Kickstarter. It means the world to me, and may you find peace beneath the wings of the Verdor.